We are in our last session, and it's going to be a conversation between Bulelani, our guest, our family friend, Marang Marekimane. Did I get that right? She's in the building, so I would just love to read her bio quickly. So what does she do? She assists entrepreneurs to buy back their time and sanity by digitizing their business processes. In her past life, she was a process and project manager consultant for banks and insurance companies such as F&B, Standard Bank, Liberty, and more. And now her focus is on facilitating access to resources for startups and small businesses. She's in the building. She's going to share with us powerful, practical tips on processes and product, etc. This is her thing. So trust me when I say we've got a specialist in the building. She's been there, she's done that, and she's here to share with us. So with some tea love, some tea energy, let's show some love. Ladies and gentlemen, for our beautiful, intelligent, powerful guest in the building, please put your hands together for Marang Marekimane. Come on, we can do more. We can do better than that. Thank you so much. Our moderator does not like the spotlight, but that's just him. I'm going to just give me a second. One second. All right, Mr. Get Things Done. His name is Bulelani. For those of you who don't know him, he doesn't like this. He's the visionary behind T, ESD, entrepreneurship. He's been running his own business for the last 14 years. He doesn't like to share his story, but we need to give the man credit where it's due. He's won multiple entrepreneurship awards, and he's going to be facilitating this session. He's got a printing, branding company. The branding Tsetsa TT, this is what he does, and he's the visionary behind hashtag Join Us for Tea. He's here with us in the building. Please, let's show him some love.
Yeah, so me again. Yeah, man. Wow. So, I mean, how many of you guys have ever engaged this amazing lady? Hey, you're gonna be blown away. Yeah. So Marang is an amazing friend of T, right? And what an honor. So I think in sort of further engaging and discussing, I guess, on the sort of conversation that we sort of started with, right? Because I think, so Hilton sort of came in and we engaged it from what sort of support structures you need to sort of put in place to support, your sort of ideation, development, your product development, and how you sort of even just sort of structure yourself with the right people around you, right? And I think there's one key thing that he forgot, which is his power of 7. And I think he sort of touched on it as he spoke about different things, the mentor, the attorney, the accountant, the ambassador, and the sort. But I think in this particular chat that we're going to be having with Marang, it's to go into the nuts and bolts, to unpack pricing, to unpack, I think, a little bit of what Hilton touched on, in and around how do you stay competitive? Because so there's a guy who says, and he posted somewhere on social media, and I found it so captivating, was like, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Hey, karewang insulter. Because the truth sometimes hurts, but is it the truth? So I think this is what this sort of chat then seeks to engage. So I think much different from the format before. I think we'll just hit it on the head, because Marang is a beast. Hey, yeah.
You're making me feel very anxious. Like, I'm feeling butterflies that I haven't felt in a long time, because like the bar's been set up there. I'm like, I hope I measure up.
Now you keep setting the bar, but maybe just as a way of introduction.
Yeah.
Maybe you could introduce yourself, I know that you're constantly evolving. That bio ya rona ke bio ya 2019. So maybe just...
Well, he checked it. So Spoo checked it, and we were agreed.
Really?
Yeah, no, he checked it.
So
He
maybe
checked
just
it.
give us an overview. And let's just shoot into the questions, because I think what I want to do, I want to give everyone in the room way more time to engage you, you know, because those questions are going to come.
So just a bit of background. My corporate career was mostly in the banking and insurance industry, and I was doing project management and process analysis in that space. So we're constantly looking, big brands like the FMBs of the world, insurance companies, are pretty much always looking for a way to create a new product they can put out into the market, which is why you would change from a black card, gold card, and all of these things, right? That comes from learning what the customer wants and then having to develop a product for the bank or the insurance facilities to then give out to a customer. And that involves a whole lot of things. So it's not just about designing the product, it also then comes with having a service that then supports this thing, so that when you call center, they know how to help you if there's a problem and whatever. So that's the service side of a product. And in 2014, I was a bit frustrated, and I decided, well, I need to jump ship and do something more with a small business space, because in a large corporate, there's a lot of things that are in place. So there's a lot of structures, there's processes, there's systems, there is a team. You know, you don't have to worry about those kind of things. But when I then looked at what small businesses were going through, they didn't have any of those things. And it frustrated me that people weren't growing out of being a small business. You're forever a small business. But then let's look at why did this happen. And that's how I ended up starting Business Process Mechanics. It was really to help people to understand what is it in your business that you could do to improve, just to even get you one level up. Because you got to do this incrementally. You're not going to wake up from being a small fry to just boom, whatever. Those are once in a million type of stories, because you've had excellent funding or some sort of divine intervention, if I were to pull it, that then comes into your space. And as a result of that work, I started engaging with the ESD space, because then we got to pull in those resources. So it's no good for me to just know what it is that you need. It became also important for me to know where you can find it, right? So I could help and point people out into different directions. Oh, okay, if it's funding, hang on, are you even funding ready? What do we need to do in order to get you then funding ready? Okay, now you're funding ready, please go to this kind of agency to access that particular funding, because not all of them are suitable for either your size, your product, or you know, your requirement for funding. Be it branding, be it, do you need competency? So competency, I mean you need a team of people that you want to do it, because that was another gap that you then see in the market, is we encourage people to become entrepreneurs, but not everybody has had the experience of either being employed, so you don't know what a formal business looks like. And that puts you at a disadvantage, because you're just going to be constantly hustling without any benchmark or some reference point to it, right? And the other aspects, and there's multiple aspects. Some people have never seen an entrepreneur in their lives, in the sense, or experienced an entrepreneur, in the sense that they've never met a founder of a company. We experience services and we consume them, but we don't experience who founded this thing and how it actually came to being. Some of us, yes, we've witnessed it, because but you know, in a formal structure this PASA, how do I then come out of it? So there's different complexities as to why people struggle to become entrepreneurs, and once they are entrepreneurs, why it is that they struggle to then scale and develop it into a business.
So just, I think, I think right on the back of that, right, much to what I had mentioned earlier on, so we've got these products, we've got these services, but one of the challenges is, and I think this then becomes a sort of common theme, has always been the route to market. So I've got this deodorant, I've got this papalas, I've got this, you know, bath salts, I've got A, B, C, and D. But the biggest challenge is, I guess, being route to market. Yeah. Whether, I guess, maybe these products, much to what the initial lady was sort of questioning, whether they are white labeled, or whether they are resales, or redistributions, on whatsoever the case. And I think, how then do we sort of approach that sort of conversation, right? from a distribution perspective, because I think the sort of theme that we have is maybe much like a Porsche M, maybe I need to get onto a Clicks, maybe that's the endeavor and the dream, that I need to be listed in a retail, but maybe much to like a different brand, maybe I need to sort of formulate my own retail structure. Is that the case, and how then do we sort of navigate that? Because I don't have the financial, I don't know, resources to be able to pull in copious amounts of infrastructure resources, team resources, and the sort.
Okay, so I want to take it a step back to, I think it was the last question you had asked Hilton about, I've got all these ideas. You know, today like literally your story of being in transit and coming back with 3 or 4 different ideas, I think happens to anyone in the room on any other given day, right? And especially if you're looking to make a difference in your life, every idea is going to sound like a good idea. Now, for me personally, I always advise people that do that business model canvas. We speak about it a lot, and I know at T we have shown people how to do business model canvas before. But what it teaches you with doing the business model canvas is you can quickly build out that idea. So I want to sell ice, no problem. Who's going to be my customer? How am I going to distribute it? And whatever. You're forced to think about those questions, right? So if you do that with just about every idea, it's very quick for you to then decide, this is a crap one. I'm going to throw it out. I'm not going to do it. Or you can decide, this is worth my time in investing in, and then you have to do more research. The challenge for most of us is that we keep the idea in our head, and when we don't build on it. What your mind does to that is that you're holding on, go, hey, milling thingisa ma ice, ma ice, and whatever. But you don't move beyond that thought process of, so what systems do I need to put in place? Why? Because you're so fixated on remembering the idea. But once you start writing it down and actually I do spider diagrams for all of my ideas with labels from that business model canvas, and you do that and you flesh it out. But once you start writing down your initial thought on that idea, you go back and you do more research, right? So I want to sell ice, I want to sell it in Tembisa. I can start looking around for the customers. I can start asking them, what kind of prices are you currently paying? What prices are you willing to pay? If I make this ice at a big one, ebe block or ebe the ice cube, what are you using instead of ice in the meantime? Right? So you start learning more and more about customers. You're learning what it is they're using as a substitute to your product. You start understanding what is the competition to that product. You start understanding where you should be pricing, more or less, right? And you can start making decisions to say, okay, with this kind of income, with this kind of customer, am I really going to be making a business out of it? Is it worth it for me to go through it? Before we even saying financially worth it, is it worth my time and effort to actually go through this process of building this particular business? If it sounds like a crap idea, park it. Park it. It might have relevance in another year or another time, but park it, right? Because some ideas don't, it's about the timing of your access to market that you need to look into. But once you've done all of those things, you need to be gathering the data. So don't be reliant on what your gut feeling is. So what I mean by that is when you're looking at your business and you're looking at your product and you're trying to develop this product or service, today you're waking up, you're frustrated because I ain't getting any money. And you're looking for more ideas about it and stuff like that, but you're actually going to then sit with your friends and ideate on this thing without actual data about what's going on in that business, in your own business. So Aingeni Mali, you don't understand, is this normal at this time of the year, or is it just because this year? Is it normal at this time of the month, or is it just this week, Mampara week, right? Because if you're collecting data, and by collecting data, I mean like, collect every transaction that is coming into the business. Write it, including the time that you take the money to service yourself, right? Have a record of it. When people are buying from you, don't just take it for, okay, at least marang orekile. Why we reka? What's your interest in my product and stuff like that? Oh, okay, is this a common problem? Do you know other people with this kind of problem and stuff like that? What were you using before you were using my product? Right? Collect it. Survey your customers. Ask them the questions. Keep asking them the questions. Keep the data. Read it. Learn from it. When people are saying, no, you're expensive. Okay, why are you expensive? Right? We're expensive because my budget wasn't going there, or I don't think this is value for money. Those are two separate things. Because if you're expensive because my budget wasn't there, then we can talk about how else I can make it budget friendly for you. So, do I give you payment terms? Go ahead, it's a loan, go ahead, it's something else. But if it is a value thing, then we must then question, why is this not making any sense to you? You might find that I actually don't need the product. It's short like one or two things, and if it had one of those two things, then maybe I would buy it. But that's information that you use to then say, do I then add it to my offering or don't I? And maybe if you don't, it's fine, because not everybody is meant to be your customer.
Sure, and I think that's the almost difficult part, because we sort of consider and you sort of hear an entrepreneur and you ask them a question, so who is your potential customer with this product? And the response is, everyone is my customer. Anyone can buy this Colgate and everyone can use it. How important is that to be able to adequately segment a market? Because there's a part of us sometimes as an entrepreneur when you're sitting there feeling like, yo, if I sell it to a certain age group and a certain gender type, I feel like ngizoluza le mali ya laba abanye, you know? So you then almost feel like, maybe let me try and sell to all of them at different intervals, and you sort of spread yourself thin, because at the back of your head you're thinking, I need to keep the cash coming in one way or another.
So the less you know about your customers' pain points, the harder it is to market and sell to them. So if you don't understand why people are buying from you, why do they need this particular product, you can't speak to it in the marketing thing. So let me give you, for instance, the lady that had the beauty products, one of the exhibitors that had her beauty products, right? She could easily just stand there and just say, get tissue oily, tar side, moisturizes your skin, and moves on. Get body scrub, it exfoliates your body, move on. She doesn't have to tell us about she wouldn't, if she told us about, rather, the moment she told us about the eczema, the stretch marks, trust you me, the lady's eyes were popping. I've got acne, I want to get rid of that pimple. Stretch marks, I got rid of that pimple. There's even a guy who's sitting there going, you spend the stretch marks, maybe let me use it too, right? If it's going to make my skin look good and stuff like that, I've been struggling. Will it soften up my beard? Those kind of things. Those questions start popping up in the customer's mind, and then you're going to be curious about it, and then you're going to go to it. But if she just said, it just moisturizes your skin, so what? There's 10 other products that I could think of that also moisturize my skin. But the moment she's mentioned specific skin conditions, who is suffering from those conditions will go towards it. The other alternative is you kind of create the problem in the market. So perfume is one of those examples. We really don't need to smell prettier than our natural body selves. But by introducing something like perfume into a market, you can tell people that, listen, if you are not so confident about your body odor, I'm giving you something that will then disguise it. But actually, there's some perfumes that will just sell it on the concept of, I want to make you feel like mine. Right? And the packaging is designed so that it is luxurious. Like, when you are thinking, geez, I mustn't break this thing. And even when the thing is finished, you want to save the bottle and have them all lined up because ukilewa. Those kind of products create a problem. Luxury products, they're not there because we need them. We end up needing them. We want to need them. So you can only do that if you understand where the problems are. What perfume understood for ole obatla confidence to walk into a room, but half of it. They understood that and packaged it and sold it back to you. So a different smell. You could still wear the perfume and we could be like, ain't nice. But for you, it ticked the box.
And I mean, I think when you sort of look at the various stages, right? I mean, and I'll sort of just read through them so that we can just have I'll just sort of read through the 7 stages of development. And because I think I have 2 more questions and then we open up the floor so that we have way more time, right? And you can sort of bookmark us. So I think stage one says, in terms of developing your product, all the way from ideation to commercialization, is idea generation, is research much, I think, to what you're talking about now with regards to data, the planning, the prototyping, the sourcing, the costing, and the commercialization, right? But I think I want to just sort of jump to number 6 in no particular order. Oftentimes when we sort of view pricing, we sort of think to ourselves, well, the cost of the jar is X, the cost of the label is Y, the cost of the actual content is Z, and my actual cost is $40 and maybe I need to sell this thing for 50 Rand. Is that the right sort of formula? What sort of formula should one, I mean, it's obviously different by industry, by product category, by the various sector that you're in. But what sort of basic rule of thumb should entrepreneurs really take in? And I think just in the back of that, oftentimes we're also then faced with, now this is more emotional. The one is practical, it's functional, the other one is emotional. On the other side, we're then constantly faced with, but at that price, will people buy it? How do I, as an entrepreneur, work my way out of confidently pricing and sticking to my price?
I like that you mentioned confidence, because I think the biggest part of how you navigate your way in business is going to rely on confidence. So you're going to sell at the level of your confidence, you're going to price at the level of your confidence, you're going to market at the level of confidence, hiring teams, managing teams, is all going to be based on your confidence. How you build that confidence, though, and I'm going to emphasize on the research element, right? Because that's where everything makes or break. That's what's going to build your direction, whether you're moving forwards or backwards. So what you've listed is correct. We've got those things, but those are just the raw materials that go into actually you having a product that you can sell. What most people don't do, actually, we do all of that, and then we get to, will people even buy at that price? But what most people haven't even factored in when they get to that moment is their own salary. They haven't factored in their own marketing, the cost of actually marketing in there. So now you're stuck. You've got a product, but you can't market it because you've got no money to market it, right? You are not factoring in, one day I want to hire people. So out of this equation, I must also then put aside some money. We are going to look for money, but we don't raise our own capital. So we're not doing anything to be our own wealth creators internally. Those aspects need to be pulled into your pricing. When you're done, the price is the price that it is. If you're going to go lower because you're doubting this entire equation, you're either doubting your research, you're either doubting your product, you're either doubting your service, you're doubting something about this entire model. That is what's going to reduce your confidence. If that is going to cause you to reduce your price, sorry, but you're going to be in the cuck for a long, long time. You will not be able to escape that because the elements of you raising capital for yourself have been taken away. The opportunities for you to invest in marketing or invest in product development, because you may have a product today and it's relevant today, but if you don't enhance or improve that product, either the packaging, the branding, the service, growing the team, making it accessible in different markets, it falls off. You stay in the same position. You don't grow, you don't earn a salary, you can't hire people, you're going to sit with the same frustrations forever in a day. It doesn't matter how many people will buy, you're going to be in a negative because you underpriced it from the onset.
Now
and
on
you
the
didn't
back
find
of
another
that,
way to fix it up.
Hey, yeah, you're spitting some fire. Hey.
So,
What, did I not tell you guys? Yeah. You see, when I sit there and I think about Marang and I'm sitting at home, yeah. But now on the back of that, right, my last question, and then we'll have a full 30 minutes of questions. Ask away. But here's the thing. A lot of the guys here have got actual physical products. Some wanting to go venture into the actual product space. Some have got services that they're converting into products, right? But tell me this. Most of the time when I'm sort of going to an individual that I want to sell my brand to, that I want to have this individual promote my brand, I'm faced with this sort of, I don't know what sort of right word to use, right? But I'm sort of thrown into the, bring your products and we will pay you in exposure. Now, give me your beauty products, ngizotshela abanye. You know, give me your caps, mangitogile nyak advertiser. Give me your papalas. It's in Ihase, Masangipuzile, I'll then Zochela Manyamachita, you know, at hangouts, would you know there's a product called Papalas Money Puza Iasebenza. I'm not walking away with actual money, right? But I'm walking away with these people telling me about this, you know, this taboo word, exposure. When is exposure good and when is it bad? And how do I sort of differentiate? Because I don't have the time, nor do I have the cash to be able to fund guessing projects. But, you know, I also, because of my hunger, I also want to jump onto something that is moving. So I also sometimes feel like, oh, if I'm lekepis, that means that people won't see.
So I saw this the other day, and I hope I quoted correctly. It was a social media post. I can't remember who wrote it, but she had written there, if you're going to pay me in exposure, how did you find me? Right? And that for me resonated because I've been paid with exposure for lots. I na rent sense that thing. I na financial line item in my world. I actually can't tell you how much I've made out of exposure. That's where for me it then sits as a challenge. But on the other hand, there's a way for it to work. And this is where stuff like influencer marketing then comes into place. Now, influencer marketers, or anyone that says, I'm going to give you exposure, is in essence saying, I'm going to be an influencer for your brand, in essence, right? But if you ask that person, how? Are stopping conversation or exposure. Because if you cannot tell me how what you are going to do for me is going to bring back, how am I going to get that feedback loop that says you brought in that business? Because of your exposure, I'm now getting business and it's better than what I was getting before. It's a struggle. Influencers can tell you, I have got X amount of social media followers. These social media followers, when I post, this is the kind of reaction that I get. And actually, if you give me a link there for them to click and buy and whatever, we can track the conversion of that exposure. And by conversion, I mean the sale, or whatever it is, be it a sale, be it another interview, be it whatever else. But I can quantify, or I can actually tell you the story from the beginning to the end. Ki post it more. From my 5,000 followers, 3,000 of them liked it, retweeted, made a comment, because that's when it counts, right? You're going to come back to me as a brand and you're going to be saying, right, I posted, these are the number of people that responded to it. This was the period of time that we got that engagement for. In your books, are there people that say, hey, I saw Bulelani talk about you on social media and I've come to you. Do I have a track record of that? Absolutely. I can see that for every person that says to me, "Kutlule Bulelani are," and I came to you, that is then, I can count that as good exposure. That is stuff that we can talk about any given day. But mahala yona, as a getting financial line item, we cannot keep doing it. We cannot keep doing it, not forever. If the person cannot answer, how are you going to give me that exposure?
I got one more question. So you sort of touched on it, right? But what sort of matrix, and I'm going to just ask the guys to move the mic around, but what sort of matrix do I use for determining how to hire and fire a customer? And is every customer my customer and a customer that's good for me?
So I remember the first time I ever told someone that I fired a customer and gave them their money back. Like, it was like, how could you? Did you not need the money? And I absolutely needed the money. But the reason I fired that customer is because they were frustrating me doing my work in order to give them value. I run a service, I don't have a product, you know? With a product, customer is unhappy, they can come back and they can complain and they move back. They complain too many times, you can choose. Do I still want this person as a customer? Because everything they buy, they complain. Like, there's no pleasing that person. Do I want to keep them around? Actually, maybe not. I can just say thank you very much, but actually your business is frustrating me and my team in order to do our delivery. And then you can kick them out of your space, right? In a service space, it becomes a very horrible thing because then it's legal battles, it's this and it's that, it's that. I wasn't willing to go through any of that stuff with this guy. But it was just frustrating to service that person. Every 2 days, the requirement was changing. We weren't getting to the end of any type of project. We weren't actually making any headway. Too much frustration in my world. Cut, here's your money back, sharp. Right? And we gotta be, I think Hilton mentioned this word earlier when he was speaking about intention. If you have good intentions about how you want to run your business, you will know who to fire and who to hire in the context of customers. If you've done your research, you understand your market, you understand what their pain points are, how to actually exist in that market, how to build a community, how to build ambassadors for yourself in that market, then you will know that these are the people that who I want to keep as customers or attract as customers and who I don't want. Again, luxury brands do this very well. So an example, like in the hip hop industry, for a long time, they didn't want them driving Bentleys or anything like that because rap music and hip-hop music was just associated with very negative connotations. What did they do? Puff Daddy went and made their money, went and bought it anyway, and put it in their videos. Bentley's like cringing on some, no, we don't even advertise our brand, not even in those spaces. Guess what? Those guys decided they don't care. But over time, because they saw who is buying it, the profile of this hip-hop artist becoming a mogul, right? Now they're calling the Jay-Z's of the world to say, come by. And it becomes one of the first people to own it. Changes the perception completely. But for a long time, they were not the target market. They were not the customer, would not even advertise to them, would not even allow them. I think it was Justin Bieber that got into trouble for buying a Ferrari and then he painted it pink. It was a Porsche Ferrari and painted it pink. And they were so upset, like, that's not even the color we go for. We want to go for like more masculine, more, bold colors, but not pink. But he did it anyway, put it on social media, got lots and lots of traffic.
So I could ask more questions, but I'm not. Questions. Because, and I just want to say something about questions, right? She's amazing at everything entrepreneurship. And you are here, and everyone is here for a specific reason. And success favors the brave. Just ask away. You lose nothing by asking and getting it out of your chest instead of sitting at home and then you're still going to Google and then you got to bother yourself and you're thinking about the very same thing, right?
I'm also not shy to say I don't know the answer.
Exactly. So, questions, my good brother here, Evans, will just move around the room. Any questions?
There's a hand back there.
Yeah, because I deprived you the last time, right?
Just on the topic that you were literally just talking about perception, the perceived value of something. In the setting that we're in, the township setting, and going into a market that may not see you as valuable, may not see what you're selling as valuable, I just want to ask, what is your advice in terms of changing the perception? Is it just in the sense that do you think that it's attainable with and in of yourself, or do you have to step out of yourself to be able to say, hey, person of value in people's eyes, you help me to change perceptions? Because it also ties in with this thing of, I put it as affiliate marketing or influencership. Do you get me? Yeah. So, because sometimes it is a matter of we, in and of ourselves, lack value, the perception, the perceived value. And so we look outside of ourselves and we say, oh, this person, everybody sees them as valuable, therefore they will elevate my brand. So I just want to ask you in that, I don't know if it made sense, but in that sense, how then do you step out of that perceived value within yourself? How do you deal with that in order to get out of that box?
So you got to get out of your own headspace as well, right? Because if you're sitting and interrogating value only from your own mindset, your own belief system, who you are, you're always going to be stuck because you're almost only servicing yourself. You're not understanding what is value to the person that you're selling to. So if that person that you're selling to, if both of you don't share the same values, that's always going to be an issue, right? It's going to be an issue because you won't understand where their logic their logic of how they perceive certain products and services is going to be based on. If you then go into that space and talk to them, so let me use e-commerce as an example. For years, we were told that there's no space for e-commerce in townships, right? And I'm not sure if it's that completely gone away. There's still people who said, but because habana di bank card, babatla sebedisa cash fela, habatsepe technology because they don't know it, and all of those things, which is completely untrue. And this past year and a half or so has proved it to be completely untrue. The value that was then created in that space is that we then got to realize that people want the convenience. Everyone wanted the convenience. The value in the e-commerce shopping wasn't being able to pay online and whatever. It was just about the convenience coming to your house. We just never saw the township market to want that kind of value. Who sat with that perception? It was the likes of a Pick and Pay, it was the likes of, and I hope I'm not getting in trouble for mentioning them, but it was somebody else who was sitting and has created a product that was never going to come this side. Maybe khanyane, but not in full force, right? And they undermine what their customers actually wanted. They undermined it. They just thought, let's leave it there. You know, maybe there's not enough money in that community to do it. But if you put it out there and you put it at the right price, it comes through to it. And we've seen it. People have done it in very microscopic ways and in large scale. People have done it and have seen that people value these things as well. They weren't going to turn it away. They just didn't have access to it. It's not that they didn't want it. It's not that they didn't see value into it.
So I'm just now, adding value to showing people that you value them, in a sense, also increases the perceived value, right?
Yes.
Because that was the question I was going to ask that you answered.
Yeah. If you undermine me and you disregard me as a customer or as a potential market and stuff like that, I'm not going to take an interest to you. I'm not going to beg you to sell products to me. I'm either going to just ignore you or go and create my own product in competition.
Hi, I heard you talk about data or data. I don't know what people call it.
Are you talking about the one I use for my phone?
Nah, the one that
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I just want to ask how, firstly, the type of questions that maybe you can ask your customers to take as data. Afterwards, how do you store the data for a small business that doesn't have facilities, right? Yeah. And after storing the data, how do you model it? How do you sort of read it? Because you can have all this, because we already have data. We already have invoice books and all these things, but we don't know how to store it, categorize it, and then read it. And then after you read it and understand it, what kind of decisions can data help you to make as ways to help you improve and make your business more profitable? There were so many questions there. Just hope that
it's fine. I'll actually talk you through it because it's quite an important question that you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no point in me saying collect data and I don't tell you how. So it's fine. I can speak to that. So one, when it comes to the types of questions you should be asking, if the question you're asking is going to give you just a simple yes or no answer, it adds zero value to your equation, right? So do you like my product? Yes. Zero value. I've told you nothing. That's it. I like it, yes. You can't take that information and use it to improve your product or service, other than the fact that one more person likes it. But if you ask the question, do you like the way this lotion feels on your skin? And I say yes, and I say, well, but what about it do you like, you know? What about the way it feels on your skin do you like about it? You know what, it's not sticky, it's not too creamy, it really feels like it's sinking in, like it feels like yasebenza, you know? It doesn't leave me all greasy, doesn't make me look gray when I'm done, like I look moisturized. That for me is quite effective because I've got dry skin. That's information you can take forward, right? You understand that this lotion is suitable for people with dry skin. You understand that people want moisture. You want people don't like that gray look and whatever. That's one way to take it. Now, how to collect that information? Most of us use Facebook pages, the Instagrams and all of those, and Twitter. You can create surveys on that. So do a poll on Twitter. Ask that type of question, let people vote on it, have a follow-up question. You could literally spend a week just doing that kind of thing with 3 posts in it, right? So ask them one question, okay, you get a popularity thing. So do you like the smell of mango, watermelon, or strawberries, right? Get the most popular one and stuff. So, next question. If we created one, strawberry thing that everybody voted for strawberry and stuff, would you like it in this bottle, this tub, or as a squeegee thing? Right? Next vote. Okay, now we want to decide a logo for this new product that we're designing. Do you like logo 1, 2, or 3? When you get the results of those polls on all of these apps, there is an analytics function. So on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram, you would have to log into your account from a computer, not from your phone. But when you go onto your profile, they show you analytics. When you go into analytics, you can look at each post. You can see what kind of people responded. And by kind, I mean like you can see generally, are they from South Africa that they responded? Are they from Gauteng? You know, and then you can then dig into the profiles to see what kind of people is it? Did they comment on just the one post or all 3 surveys? That's you collecting the data. Another way you can do Excel spreadsheets. WhatsApp now has got, what is it called now again? WhatsForm. So if you go to whatsform.com, you can create questionnaires and send it via WhatsApp, and the responses, you can find them on a Google Sheet. When you're putting out questions also, rank your questions in order of priority and value, right? So put your question, this question, it means so much to my business. And you can really put a 1 to 5 type of scale. So that when you get the answer, you can then take the average of it and then make decisions based on it. Obviously, you're gonna take the product that had the most votes. So if everybody voted strawberry, why are you gonna go do a mango flavor? The people that are following you on social media have already voted strawberry. Oyagai. That's how you then use the data to make the decisions going forward, right? When you market, you could even market and say, you know, the people that, one of the respondents will get a prize. They will get the first sample of the strawberry flavored whatever that we're producing. Then you're putting it back into the market because they've helped you create it. Does that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, I feel like the last part, like on the types of decisions that it can, thanks. The types of decisions that the data can help you.
Okay.
Other than marketing, like are
okay,
they,
so let me
if
use
you
a
have
different
it
example.
on the top of your mind.
No, let me use a different example. So let's look at our financials, right? If we're going to look at our financial statement over a period of a year, and you're going to look for, okay, some months it's up, some months it's down, you know, I'm making money some months I'm not. If you're only looking at that last line in your bank statement that shows you the total of what's left in your account, you don't have enough information. But if you start looking at every transaction and you start recording, so how many customers are buying, what is it that is in terms of expenses, you know, you can then look at where do you have money to hire people, if you need to be hiring people. You can then start understanding that, okay, some months are slow. Is it because of the time of the year? Or is it because of something else? Go investigate why it is. And if you understand that certain times of the year, it's going to be slow and there's not going to be an income just because your product doesn't sell at that time of the year, then you can make decisions as to what do I need to do to supplement that income. And it could be one of two things. Either you have a product that fits in that time to buffer it, or you're then going to say, I'm going to oversell in the good months. I'm going to oversell so much that in the bad months, I'm covered. It doesn't feel like a pinch. So those are the kind of decisions that you're making, right? You could look at your financials and then realize, we're spending so much money on storage facilities. Like Kiduzika Stoko is all piled up. I'm paying storage fees for all of this inventory. Do I really need this inventory if I'm selling? So then I need to decide, how do I get rid of this inventory and reduce my storage fees? Because clearly I'm wasting money on that storage fees. You could find that you're wasting money elsewhere. And that's where you start saying, this is where I need to cut my costs. Or I need to price it differently in order to get to my target market.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
On your Instagram bio, it reads reviewing business models and processes. So do you focus on already existing brands, or let's say I'm a new brand, I don't have a model or business processes. Do you help me with implementing a new business model and business processes?
Yeah. So it differs. It differs, and let me explain how it differs. When you're a new business, the amount of money you would then spend on a service like ours doesn't make sense. And what I mean by that is, I would rather teach you how to learn how to do a business model, right? So that because you're starting today, there's a lot of things that are going to change for you, at least in the first 18 months of the business. You're going to be here today, there tomorrow, and this. So I'd rather teach you how to do a business model, so that you learn how to do it, and as you're experiencing life of a business owner, you can then refine that business model and work on the processes and stuff like that. More established businesses have got a lot more complexities to it, because most of them don't have just one product. They have got multiple products. They've got multiple service channels and stuff. So there's more value that we can add in that space, because then we can provide strategies for growth and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it depends on what phase of the business that you're in, right? I don't kick people away. If anything, I'm going to then say, it's not for me to help you, but somebody else then can help you. I'll make the phone call for you and link you to that person, so that it can be, if that's where I'm stuck. But yes, I assist any size business. I've assisted people with ideas, like literally an idea, and then they've thrown it out and then come back. But I ask a lot of questions. That's it.
Greetings, everyone. Dumela aus Marang.
Hello.
My question is basically... easy. My name is Liza. So, like almost everyone, I suffer from too many ideas. So, let's say I have decided that I'm going to stick to one idea and run with it. Would you advise me to work on the idea, build the brand, before registering it first, or should I register it first? And if I do go with the first option of working on the brand before it's registered, how do I protect the brand while building it, making sure that the next person, I make it hard for the next person to copy what I'm doing?
Okay. I have to ask, who's the T team? Where will join us for T team? Bulelani, you guys don't have anyone from the government here, ne? Like Lababe compliance? Okay, no, that's fine. So, I'm not a fan of telling people to formalize in the sense of registering a business, opening bank accounts, and all of those things when you're actually not transacting, right? And when I mean by bank accounts, I'm talking under the business name. You know, budi VAT number, budding. those things, compliance in this country does not make it easy for us to run businesses. It's stifling. And there is what they call the Startup Act that is in formation, and that is supposed to separate what the Companies Act to a small business so that we actually don't have to go through that much compliance. Because I tell you, once you're registered for VAT, and if anyone tells you to register for VAT before you're making at least 2.5 bar or 3 million an annum, like they're killing you. Because you're constantly going to be paying VAT, Okolota VAT, and whatever. It's actually crippled quite a lot of businesses, right? Registering the business, you've got annual returns that you have to then submit and do all of those things. So the timing of it is quite important, but it's also important depending on the type of business that you're going into. So if I'm going into the hospitality business and I'm going to be serving people food, I have to have a registered business in order for me to get the health certificate in order for me to then be operational. So that idea, I can't go too far with it if I'm not compliant. But say you're going to run a service, right? A delivery service in your own car to drop off things for people. Now, you having a driver's license, that's qualification enough for you to carry out that idea in order to function. And then you can decide that once I have enough customers and I understand what I'm doing, this is actually becoming a business, let me go register it, let me go do this, let me go do that. What is key though is that while you're operational, whether it is registered or unregistered, anything in between, you need to make sure that you're keeping those financial records for it so that when you are a formalized business, it's not like the past couple of years didn't exist for you. Especially when it comes to coming for funding, because then they're going to look at it like, what I just started maubani. But you can just say, yes, I formalized it maubani, but I've been operational for 2 years. Here's my financial records. Here's my list of customers. Here's the traffic I've created and stuff. Like, I exist. And you can't take that experience away from me. I exist. And then you can keep going, next person to the next person to the next person, but at least you can explain why you only registered yesterday. Now, when it comes to protecting your brand and things, again, it will depend on the industry that you're in. But typically, registering a logo and having copyrights to it or whatever doesn't require a company certificate in order for you to do those kind of things, right? You can just register those things. What I do warn people against, well, not against, but I do warn people about is the patent. So if you have got a new invention or new pieces of innovative technology that you can say, I'm the one that created this logic, and you want to patent it, then you need to be understanding of what the process is, and it helps in those types of situations to have a company, because then you're separating yourself from the business and the legalities that come with it. Have I answered you? Sharp.
Hi, my name is MJ. You earlier on you spoke about time resources and business resources, things like that. So I want to know how can you reduce the gap between implementing an idea or a business and the actual business being implemented? How can you reduce or minimize? Because I mean, so much of the time you would have a business idea, it's all clear, ready in your mind, but the moment you start executing it, there's a major challenge that is in front of you. You solve it, there's another one. Now that's more time, more effort. So you spend so much, like if you had 1 year in your mind, you end up spending more like 3 years, and you end up spending more resources, more time, a lot of that. Maybe yes, you can eliminate that, but how can you at least reduce or minimize so that it's not as complex as it usually is?
Yeah. So we all have different experiences and different challenges when it comes to resources. Because when you speak to a rich kid whose dad has been running multi-million rand organizations, and their uncle is the CEO at the next other big organization, that kid, when they decide, well, let me start a business, guess who their network is? Guess who their network of mentors, advisors, all that stuff that Hilton was talking about, the legal counsel, that's who their network is, right? That person's challenge with resources will look very different to my challenges, who doesn't have the rich dad and the uncles that are leaders of organizations of that size. So it's quite important for us to also be clear on what our resource challenges are when we then say we don't have those resources. But one of the best ways to do this is networking, which is what I like about what we were doing earlier, to say don't sit next to people you know. You're not going to learn anything new if you're always with the people that you always know. Like, not to say they're not valuable to you, but you got to keep expanding your network. And I found that as an entrepreneur, to expand my network and expand my access to resources, I've had to look at what do I need in the business. So I need skills. What kind of skills do I need? I need these kind of competencies in my space. Where do these people hang out? I must go find them. If they are at conferences, if they're at workshops and stuff like that, best believe I'm there. I can't come to hang out and expect to find them there. It's not their playing ground. You know? So if I want to find resources like technology or funding, I gotta go to those institutions and understand what is their requirement, and then find out how I can then do, what do I need to do in order to meet the requirement in order to access that resource. In South Africa, we've got BE, right? A lot of us walk around saying, I'm 100% black owned as a business. How many of you say that when you're out there and you're trying to get funding or trying to get even access to a tender? I'm 100% black owned. Do you actually know what it means? Does anybody know what it means to say that if you're applying for funding? Do you know how the BE scorecard works? Nothing. Okay, I'm going to try and explain this very quickly. So BE has got like 8 levels that you would be under, right? Being 100% black owned means that you are at level 1. That's ideally where everybody's trying to get to. Companies that don't have black management, don't have black females, don't have black people working for them, as decision makers, they move down the levels, right? So the fewer the people are in those top positions, the lower you go. Then there's an opportunity as well to spend on black-owned companies, and by spend I mean as suppliers. So when we talk about ESD, the enterprise supplier development, they're supposed to spend money on you so that you can have an income, so that you can be a growing business. The amount of money they spend on you is going back as a tax benefit for that company that is doing it. So for every 1,000 rand that they're spending on you as a black-owned entity, they are getting 135% as a tax incentive. That's 1,350 that they're getting as a tax incentive just from buying from you. So don't walk in there saying, I'm 100% black owned. If you're talking to a financial director or the procurement manager or whatever, and you want sponsorship or you want them to buy from you, tell them that the benefit of buying from me as a 100% black owned entity is that your tax benefit is 135%. Every company is trying to save money. Corporates do that via tax. Right? That's how that wealth creation. So you can imagine if they're getting a tax benefit, 135%, it's a saving on their scorecard, that the profit margins on their end go up. Do not walk around saying people must buy from you just because you're black owned. Make it make financial sense to that person that you're speaking to. Give them the value that they want. Financial managers, procurement managers, all these sponsors, they sit there, their mandate in life is to make sure that they save money and make money for that business. If you are then talking about 135%, this is what it means on your tax line, that person gets excited because you're speaking their language. But if you're just saying, buy from me just because I'm black, if that person is sitting there, Mariki van Niekerk, and don't give a damn about you being black, game over. You're out. It's not because your product wasn't great. It's because you used blackness against her. he's going to hit me with a hot one. I've been seeing him.
No, like actually, I'd like to appreciate the T team. This is an amazing event. The knowledge that we are getting here, I think they should be giving us some bills. We need to pay something, guys. Otherwise, thank you.
When I lay a feedback layer, we need to
Yeah.
pay something. How much are you willing to pay?
It will depend on how much they charge.
How much are you willing to pay? That was my question.
Okay, I'm ready to pay 500 for attending the session.
There we go. Complain. But we'll do the survey. No. We'll do the survey. We'll do the survey and find out how much is willingness, and somewhere in there we'll find a price that's right for everybody. But yes, sir, go ahead.
So I was once also caught in this fever of like moving to an idea and to idea. And after some time working with a mentor, I got an opportunity to actually find my strength. And I'll be launching my book next week on the 27th. I wrote a book called Starting a Business and Closing Sales. This is also mentorship. What you're doing with us, like if we are understanding enough, we can take away a lot of things with us. So over the years, I've jumped from this business to that business to that business. And it is through after sitting down with a mentor and I understood that, I really need to leverage on my strength. And after leveraging on my strength, this book is the result. Secondly, I've started a business where I do sales, because I've noticed I've been jumping from business to business, but the common thing has been sales. I have the ability to sell, so you can bring anything, I'll sell that. So currently, starting a business which is helping other businesses to develop a sales plan, sales strategy, because a lot of us, we start businesses, but we don't have a sales plan. If I can ask here who has a sales plan, chances are they don't have. What is your sales strategy? They don't have. You've been talking about market research, which is data. That is also featured on this book, so getting it to also assist. But my question is, over the years, I've been trying to get a business that will allow me to explore on things that I love. So I was able to do that. So with the business that I'm creating right now, I'm looking at creating something that's going to last for centuries, leave a legacy behind. And my challenge is hiring. How do you hire right people? Like I heard you talking about your team. I think if some people from your team, if they are here, they'll be proud the way you said my team and I, because it shows that they play a huge role in making sure that your business functions well. So my question is, how do we hire good people? Because now we have a lot of people who are unemployed, so they might come in just for nomaini, and nomaini, even the results become nomaini. So how do we hire people who are going to contribute and be team players?
Okay. So hiring is a bit of a difficult one for most people. Mostly because, A, they doubt themselves as to, can I even be a leader to other people, right? So first you got to sort that part out and actually gather the courage to be an employer. Being an employer is not Popeye, and in this country it's also quite an expensive exercise. When you then look at your business, you got to look at, what do I need from a skills base to then take the business forward? What most people tend to do is, hey, keep busy, man. Hey, hanga thoka PA, hanga thola receptionist, and whatever. But actually, do you have enough work for that receptionist? Right? So do you need to hire an entire receptionist, or do you need to hire somebody who can be a bit more flexible given the size of the business and given how much work there is to do for that person in the business? Because then you also don't want to bore them, right? Or you change it. So maybe I need the receptionist, but maybe instead of using a receptionist, let me use a virtual assistant and direct my calls to that person, and that person just bills me for the calls that they actually have to be responsible for, right? Because now I clearly need a receptionist. I've decided that I need one. But does it have to be someone that I hire, or is it a function that for now I need to outsource because the business is where it's at? So let's not hire just for hiring, for one. Two, if you're hiring people and you don't give them a sense of purpose in the business, if you hire people and you make it difficult for them to work, So difficult, I mean, you don't give them the resources for them to do their job. You don't give them the training that they need to do their job. You're not giving them autonomy. And by autonomy is they don't make their own decisions. Like boss before they actually submit. At some point, you must give them enough authority and autonomy for them to just do the work. And you are just coming to address the mistakes. How you do that, you gotta be documenting what is happening in your business. You gotta document the processes. How do you sell? This is how we sell. Moto finds us here, they pay here, their delivery is like this, and whatever. Write it. Why do I say write it? You can, okay, well, there's different options of writing it. You can write it as a proper document. Some of the companies like to create videos, like little training videos, short little videos, 3 to 5 minute video, training a person on how to do the job. Why? Because you're training that person to abide to your standards of service. The other thing that you would have to do is explain to them why the business exists. There's a lot of people who work in an environment and they don't know what value they add to the business in order for the business to add value to the customer. So if I feel like kitlamusebenzing just in that level of commitment drops, the level of productivity drops, the number of customers drop. Right? So how you get people to even enjoy working in that space? They gotta know that this business has got a sense of purpose. Beyond us just pushing product, we want to create jobs. We want to change the social economy of the environment that we live in. We want to clean up the environment. We want to educate little children so that they're financially savvy. It's an extension of the product and service that you're providing. It gives the business purpose. Everyone that comes into that business, as long as they understand that and they buy into it, just the same way that the customer has to buy into it, that team member has to also buy into it and then say, here, I can commit my work. I would never, like I've been working with T, I think maybe 3 years now. The only reason I do that is because I believe in what they're doing, honestly. To a point where I can sit with their teams and just be like, okay guys, ooh, this one, ooh, didn't do it so well. You know what I mean? I've become so terrible. On some paper today, little standard. But they know, now they can take it from me that all I'm trying to do is actually make sure that the next time we do this together, we're better. If you've dropped the standards, if you've done well, tell him, I give him feedback. He wants to ideate, I'm happy to ideate with him. Why? Because I understand what he's doing here and I can work with him.
Now, I just want to ask this, right? How important, or rather, do I need to get my business to a certain size and level for me to start thinking about systemizing and building processes into my business? And I think, why is it so important to build these processes, you know, as a startup or as a small business owner?
So the default answer is you don't have to wait. Do it today. And that's why I spoke about documenting your processes. So document it, do the video, but understand what does it take for you to deliver the product or service. So if you're manufacturing something, you would have to have that recipe that says this is how we manufacture this product. This is what happens in the plant in order to package the product. This is what happens to the sales and marketing in order to get it out to customer. This is what happens with logistics to then put it back in. All of those things are processes, right? Don't undermine them just because right now you're a one-man show or you don't have a team or you don't have sophisticated software to do all of these things. You have these things, you're just not seeing them for the value that they are. These apps that you're using, they've got tons of value. They're not just there that's why I spoke about the Facebook analytics side of it. That's tons of value. That in itself is a system that you have in order to gather data and then use that data for something else to improve your business. So already you've got it. How you're thinking about it is where there's a disconnect. because you're not seeing it for a process, you're not seeing it for a system. So you're not seeing the value of what this thing, this tool is actually creating for it, right? And a simple example, if I were to ask people to just list the resources or assets that you have in the business, most people don't even include their cell phone or their laptop as a resource in their business. People will tell you, no, angnama assets, angnalutho business, and that's not it. There's resources that you're using in order to do something, right? You've got a sales process because you've got to make phone calls or emails in order to close the deal, in order for it to come back. That is a process. The value of having it documented is that you can then see what are the steps that need to happen, and over time, you can work out the sequence of the steps so that it is efficient, so that you do it quicker, you do it right all the time. Why? Because that reduces the number of mistakes that you can do. Every mistake is an expense in the business. It costs you something. Right? So you want to avoid making those kind of mistakes. You want to be able to, and the moment you've got those steps in sequence and you understand how you can make them repeatable, then you can invest in more sophisticated software, because then you can see where the returns will then come in. So that's where the size then would come into play, because you're scaling. Now there's just too much data to look around. There's too many apps, like you've got 10 apps trying to tell you one thing. Is there a way that you can integrate them? So there's a lot of tools like if this, then that. Like it's spelled IFTTT, right? And it allows you to connect tools like a Facebook to your Google spreadsheet in order for you to just look at a Google spreadsheet and then get the data from there, because you don't want to sit and be like going through every little piece of posts that you had on Facebook. So you can build those kind of things. Most of them are quite free, actually. And when I say quite free, as in they charge a little or they are free, like completely free. Then you can start creating dashboards for yourself. So dashboards, I mean like reporting, ways of reporting for you to then understand what it is that these tools are giving you in terms of information, and then you can proceed from there.
Wow, that was amazing. I mean, if it was up to me, we'd continue. Anyone who's got a burning question? Just one? Two ladies? I can't say no to ladies. Women are the power, man. Just two last questions and then we wrap up. It's longer than we usually do, but I think undoubtedly you would see the amount of tremendous value.
Okay, I'm Tinyiko, and I don't know, I just want to find out, do you have a mentor?
Do I have mentors?
Do you have mentors?
I have quite a few. Some mostly informal mentors. And for me, it's a bit of a challenge. So I come from an IT space. I'm a process engineer. The sort of mentors that I need are not so much process engineers, but more from a business building and strategy development type of way. And that's where it sits for me.
Okay, I've got a follow-up question. So for me, I think I'm struggling with getting like sometimes you get a mentor, and then it's a male.
Yeah.
So I just want to find out in terms of just how to keep it professional when it comes to having a male mentor, because you know what happens around us as females.
You know what? This is something, it's not, what you're asking is not even just from a mentor relationship. It goes on from wherever we are. Because you're alluding to something, you're not saying it. I've had those kind of situations where I'm just in a business meeting, I'm trying to get the job done and stuff, and you're trying to flirt with me. That's not cool. That is not cool. But I'll tell you this, I have regretted every time I let it slide. I have never regretted telling a person stop, no, and don't. And walking away. We must not get ourselves, especially as women, to a point where because I need the money, I need the access, I need this, I need that, I'm willing to lower my standards or how I feel about myself just because this is a guy. Amen. Or anybody for that matter. Right? So what you're asking is not about it's not a professional thing. It is just the way life must be. You must be able to say to people, no. If you can't voice it as a no, walk away. But you got to protect yourself. Do not be with a mentor. Like, if they make you feel uncomfortable, voice it. Voice it. And if it happens again, like, even go as far as reporting it. But move away from that situation as quickly as you can. It's not going to get better. That person came in with the wrong intentions with you already. They're not going to respect your space. You're going to be fighting it. It's just not going to be it. Move away, find somebody else. And if you find that actually maybe it's just you're not comfortable with men, or they, because you're pretty, you're hot, they're going to look at you and they're going to try and flirt and all sorts of things and stuff. I'm guaranteeing you it is going to happen a lot to you. But you need to be able to actually stand firm with people. I don't flirt back. I'm telling them stop, no, and don't. It will never happen. Insist on them calling you Austiniko. Like, just fellow Kalimela Linyazo.
Oh, hi, Marang.
Yes, ma'am.
Libitso la ka ke Linda. Okay, when you spoke about pricing and confidence, it really hit home, eh? Because, yeah, okay, ke tlo bua ka side ya construction, eh? Because I'm also doing construction. So there's a lot of times whereby we'll get a client and then we'll give codes and all that. But there's always somebody who's gonna come cheap, you know, and go industry nyaruna, it happens a whole lot of times. And you always look like you are expensive, because when most of the skills you will resource, you will need people to come and help you, and when you put your markup, you come across as expensive. So I just want to, I don't know, give me an advice when it comes to that pricing and competition and
Okay.
yeah.
So if you're operating in a price-sensitive market, like construction is quite price-sensitive, then you need to understand when you are not operating at that market price, why are you different, right? That unique selling proposition that was spoken of earlier is where that it's gonna make sense for me to pay you the difference. So if a brick is 20 rand, a brick is 20 rand. The next guy might be able to give it to me cheaper because they've got bulk discounts or a long-standing history with the supplier, so they get it cheaper so they can give it to me cheaper. Or maybe they even manufacture the brick themselves, and then they also have a construction company, so that's why they're able to be cheaper. So when people then come to you and say to you, no, but you're expensive, you can then say, no, who are you comparing the quotes with? That person, okay, Onale brick company, that's why they're able to do that. We have to buy externally and stuff, that's why our prices sit there. So you're justifying your price, but there's a logic to it. Then you're not expensive for nothing. Then I can say, oh, okay, so now I'm buying from you because, okay, right? But if you're then going to say, okay, and you're letting me go, you will never understand how to fix that equation for yourself. But then if you are then, so let's assume the other quote that I got came from somebody, same size company as you, same grading standard in the construction field and stuff, but yet you are higher. Then I need to know what else am I getting from you as value that justifies this thing. So not only are you going to give me product, but you are then going to say, actually, we also provide advisory services. Can we look at your plans, right? Have your plans been, authorized and approved and stuff like that? Oh, actually, they weren't approved, but we can fix that for you. And that's included in the service. That's why we are this price. Again, you're justifying it for you. Again, the customers that are for you will then be for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I said it. Hey. Thank you so much. I mean, how many of us extracted value from this session? I mean, I think for me it's totally valuable. Thank you so much, Marang. Thank you so much, Hilton. Yeah, come.
So I think what Marang said around data is very important. So I want to give you one big data, is that 60% of all citizens on the African continent is women. We've trained over 1,000 business advisors in South Africa, and 60% of them are women. They've created over 100,000 jobs, transformed supply chain, gave people access. So I want to say to you, when you look at business leaders, don't automatically think they look like me. And I think this is where we perhaps make the mistake, is that we think of mentors, coaches, business advisors. We think, oh, that's what we see. Those guys are. And so we've got to understand that when you look at the data, you will look for women business advisors, women mentors, because they do a hell of a lot more on the African continent. 20% of all revenue growth on the continent came from women. They employ more people. They are more innovative than men. So yes, Marang said that, that's the stuff that you have to do. I would say take a knife along, put it on the table. That's just the colored in me. That's just the colored. So I'm like, that's critical. The other thing is that I completely agree. Sometimes you have to fire a customer before they're a customer. You can never, ever make back a discount. It's out of your income statement. It's forever lost in your balance sheet. Okay. But of course, you guys were blessed. I had to go before her, because I know she would set the bar too high.
Yeah, so I think, where's Wu? He's gone. But I think that's it for today. But I don't want to, man, I enjoyed you guys. Eh? Did you guys enjoy them? Yes. I really enjoyed like a full day master class would be nice, eh? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, but maybe 500 yen. No, I've got a t-shirt for you.